Welcome to the podcast. It's the best podcast in the world. This is going to end up on the show. I know it, motherfucker.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode 110 of Epitome of Stupidity, your favorite allegedly metal podcast. Today we've got a legit personal favorite of mine and what is sure to be my album of the year, One Generationofvipers. Yay. The intro-outro song is their Joyless Grails, which is the first track on the previously mentioned new album called Guilt Shrine. More on all that here shortly, though. If you're new here, welcome in. I'm Clint. I'll be your host. If you're not new here, I want to remind you that every time you listen to this show, someone you don't like gets stuck at a red light while they have to pee. Returning folks will also know that around here, we're big fans of mead. And if you go to brimminghornmeadery.com, you can get yourself some delicious mead, and they'll send it right fucking to you. Plus, if you use the code EPITOMEAD, EPITOMEAD, you'll get a 10% discount off your order. And that right there is a big old John Madden style boom. Currently listening to, what have I been listening to? Shit fucking tons of Generationofvipers. I cannot stress enough how much I fucking love this band. They are the perfect kind of fucking heavy as far as I'm concerned. It'll be an absolute miracle if I don't end up nerding out about all their damn albums while we talk here shortly. They just fucking get it for me. I've mixed in some Van Dampire as well, because they kind of, for whatever reason, they kind of remind me of each other a little bit. There's also still delving after last week's conversation, and I mixed in some of the newest Huntsman as well, that the Dryland, who was also on the show earlier this year. And just kind of to throw back to Van Dampire, after you listen to this show and get all your Generationofvipers on, find them and check them out. Anywho, on to Generationofvipers, consisting of Josh Holt on guitar and vocals, Billy Graves on drums, and Travis Kammeyer is what I'm going with on bass. There's always got to be some fucking name or word I can't pronounce. Combined, they make a particular kind of heaviness that is thick without sounding nu metal, riffs and grooves without being groove metal, but also not just a bunch of mindless chugging. They pull off the whole noisy thing without being fucking Nirvana. They can do the loud, quiet, loud thing without feeling like a reference to the Pixies is obligated. They fucking got it all, and I love it. Guilt Shrine is their first full album since 2014's Coffin Wisdom, which was released only 2 years after the previous album, Howl & Filth, both of which I cannot recommend highly enough. In addition to the new album, let's talk to them about, well, them, because I can't fucking wait. I wonder if this fucking fake phone thing will work in Tennessee where they're at. Let's give it a shot. Beep, 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 beep. Ring. And the answer. On the line with me today are Josh, vocals and guitar, and Billy of Generationofvipers. Billy plays the drums. Fellas, how the fuck are you today?
Good, man. Great. Day off. Long weekend, Labor Day weekend. Can't complain.
Sitting here drinking some cold brew. Trying to wake up.
I'm drinking some cold brew too, but of a different variety, I think.
Yeah.
Where are you guys calling from?
We're both in Knoxville.
Knoxville?
Mm-hmm.
The easy way to start these things is, what are you listening to lately?
Trying to think. I don't know. It kind of fluctuates. Like this week, it's been a lot of like classic rock kind of stuff. Oddly enough, like a lot of like Thin Lizzy, old Metallica, AC/DC.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've just been on a kick of that stuff this week, but usually it's like podcasts, that kind of thing.
Yeah, for me, like I've been on a big 90s kick lately. Travis turned me onto this podcast called Bandsplain. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I don't think I have.
It's like they just take like they focus on a certain band each week and just go deep into them, like a 5-hour episode, like on Alice in Chains. And I mean, it's super detailed if you can get past like the delivery of the girl that runs the podcast. But I mean, there's a lot of great information on it. Let's put it that way. But it sent me down a rabbit hole of like early 90s kind of grunge stuff, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, all that stuff. But new Highland Fire is great. I say it's new. Anything this year is new to me.
Sure. I'm not going to argue with that at all.
I really like that Idols record that came out earlier this year.
Yeah.
I don't know, just random stuff. I go on tangents.
Sure. We kind of talked just quickly about it before we pushed record. And like I said, I'm a fucking 90s kid. So all that grunge, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, all that hits me right where I is more often than not.
Yeah, totally.
It shit just never gets fucking old. And now to be walking around Kroger and hear it play, and it's like, oh, damn it.
Yeah, that's definitely us too. Like when I hear any of that stuff on classic rock radio, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in my 40s. Forgot it.
Fucking life, man.
Very, very weird feeling.
It is. Yeah. It is. Before we get full into Guilt Shrine here, how about a crash course in the history of Generation of Vipers for me and everybody that's listening?
Dang. Well, it's weird. It's really weird to say out loud, but like me and Josh have been playing together like as Generation of Vipers for 20 years this year. Yeah, I think we started in our first show anyway was in 2004. I can't remember if we started like jamming before then, but
I don't know. I mean, I know we kind of started like the early part of 2004, and I feel like I remember us like we kind of hibernated for a while before we did anything. Like really, like tried to really focus on just writing good songs for a while. But I mean, we've basically been a functional band for 20 years now, which is really weird because it doesn't feel like that long.
No, yeah. Obviously, it's been 10 years since we put out Coffin Wisdom.
Oh, I'm aware.
Yeah, I know. But it's not like we've been working on the Guilt Shrine stuff for 10 years nonstop. There was a period of like 5 years there where we didn't do much at all. Like we'd get together, I don't know, once every 2 or 3 months and, practice the old stuff and hang out, just to keep it going. But like, life just became too much to really pursue it like we wanted to, unfortunately. But I know we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here a little bit, but yeah, we started in 2004.
Well, we started in 2004, self-released like our first 3 albums, and then I guess it was like around the 2009 or 10 when we put out our 3rd record, Howlin' Filth. Translation Lost contacted us and wanted to re-release it, and I'd say like around that time. That was also like around when Travis started playing with us, and I feel like that's kind of when we really like kind of like started finding our true sound, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, did a bunch of like DIY tours, toured Europe, did all like played spots and all that kind of stuff, and yeah, kind of just like sort of been toiling in obscurity this whole time. Feels like, but which is whatever. I mean, that's most bands, I think. I mean, we've all, the 3 of us have been friends for like over 20 years. We just always sort of been around each other. Our bands have played together, and like we just kind of always been making music together.
I certainly agree with the idea that you guys' sound really came together with Howlin' Filth. Those first few releases kind of strike me the same as like the first Call to Luna release, where it's heavy and that there's good shit in there, but it still feels like someone trying to figure out exactly what they're doing. And by the time they got around to Salvation, and by the time you guys got around to Howlin' Filth, this is the fucking sound.
Oh no! Well, I was just gonna say, those first 2 albums, I feel like we were still kind of trying to figure out how to write songs, and we just didn't have like the tools in the toolbox yet, But we knew what we wanted to do, but just couldn't quite get it there at that point.
Sure.
I feel like when Travis actually recorded those first 2 albums, and I feel like when he joined, it's like we already kind of had this sort of dialogue between the 3 of us that it just sort of just kind of happened real naturally.
Yeah.
That we wanted to do some like heavier stuff.
Mm.
And also, it was kind of a conscious thing because those first 2 albums, like the songs are pretty long, probably too long, definitely too long. And we wanted to kind of cut the fat and just make shorter, concise, heavier punchier songs, when Travis joined up.
Yeah, I didn't really think about that in those terms. To be completely candid, for as much as I love you guys, I don't go back to those albums all that often. And
we don't either.
It's almost like a different band.
I'm not going to argue that at all. I do love the idea of kind of trimming the fat, and it's almost like the leave somebody wanting more thing to a songwriting idea, because if that's the fucking idea, it's certainly working. So fast forward up to Guilt Shrine, released last week, the 23rd, August 23rd, the year of our Lord, 2024. How's the response been so far?
It's been great so far. I mean, just based on what people have been messaging us online about, and tagging us in stories. That's kind of really the only feedback we kind of get is through the social media aspect, other than our friends,
Sure.
saying it's great. But that's been really positive.
Yeah, it feels like we've gotten more feedback from this than anything else we've done so far, which is kind of feels weird, but cool.
Right.
I'm always surprised when anyone checks out anything, because there's just so much awesome music out there now, and it's like it's easier than ever to get lost in the ocean,
Yeah, for sure. So let's go ahead and jump to that. Why did it take so long?
Well, so wait, Coffin wasn't coming out in 2014. We played some shows, like kind of short runs on the East Coast, like early 2015, and
yeah, we did like a 2-week tour, I guess, like right after it came out.
Yeah, but it also kind of coincided with my son was born in January of 2015. So anytime you get a newborn in the equation, kind of it takes up a lot of time, and can't be gone for that long, and you got to work and pay for things. Unfortunately, this band is not an income source by any means. Yeah, I mean, it was just that kind of timing, you know what I mean? Like more responsibilities,
Having to be adults.
Having to be adults. Just didn't have the time to devote. This band's always been super important to me, and like, I didn't want to just like half-ass it. You know what I mean? Like, I want to devote as much energy as I can to it, and if I feel like I can't, then maybe we should kind of hold off until that time is right again.
Sure, instead of forcing something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think to piggyback on that, I think we all just love doing this so much that we don't owe anyone anything. We just have always had the attitude of like, well, we'll do it when we're ready to do it, and because we certainly don't do this for money, and we the three of us love playing music together so much that it's kind of like when we have the time, then we'll make it happen.
Sure. And not to get ahead of myself or anything here, but am I going to have to wait another 10 years for the follow-up?
I hope not. No.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we've got
We've
few
actually
ideas
got some. Yeah.
that we're working on now. So, yeah, I highly doubt it's going to take another decade.
I'll take it. How was it working with Kurt Ballou? And am I the only person that thinks of Baloo the bear from Jungle Book whenever I say his name?
No, every time.
Fuck yes, thank God.
Man, this time it was great. Like, it was just so comfortable. We got to stay at the studio, like he has an apartment above the studio. So just being able to just basically live in that building, and you don't have to drive like 45 minutes each way to get to the studio, and no commute time. Like, there's a kitchen upstairs. Like, you just lived there, and like it was all about focusing on getting things right, and not all this extra bullshit that could sometimes be a distraction. And he's super great to work with. He obviously knows what he's doing.
Right.
His record sounds so good, and I think he killed it on this recording.
I was going to say I would second all that. Because we've worked with Kurt before when we did Howlin' Phil's, our third record, and at that time he didn't have that apartment above the studio, and so we stayed with some friends of ours when we were there because we couldn't afford the hotel to save money, and it was definitely a huge added stress having to do that commute every day, like just trying to get there on time. And you could tell he was frustrated with us when we'd show up late. And it was, I don't know, just having those elements taken out of the equation this time was made it way more enjoyable, and like we could really focus on what we were doing.
Hell yeah. I've got later on in this conversation that, you know, the kind of loose outline I have here, I've got a specific thing about Howlin' Filth and the way it was recorded and the way, like, specifically your vocals. It seems like they are purposely mixed way back, and since then they've come forward a little bit each time. Was that on purpose? Is that something that just kind of happened?
It wasn't on purpose. If I remember correctly, so we mixed that record to tape. And I remember when Kurt and I were working on that stuff, because I was living in Philadelphia at the time, and when we made that record, we had like taken a break between the tracking and the mixing process. So I remember when we mixed it, I went up there to sit with Kurt for like a day or two, I think there was just like some specific notes that we had. And I remember as he was mixing it, I made a comment about the level of the vocals. I was like, I think this might need to be louder, man. And I think, I don't know, it just, I think it was just kind of accidental, because when you listen to that record, you know, I'd always notice that the vocals are way louder towards the end of the record than they are at the beginning. And I think it was just like time limitations, budget limitations. It just was like, well, we just got to leave it because we're mixing this to tape and we can't really fix it that easily. So
I guess I've never really noticed
it. Always bothered me.
I've never really noticed that it gets louder at the end of the album. So by the time you get into the Misery Coil, what always stands out to me is kind of those first couple songs, especially Silent Shroud, where it's, you know, the vocals are back, but then you get to that fucking break and it all hell breaks loose and you're screaming your fucking face off. Yeah, I can hear them now. Outside of that, getting back to the newer stuff here, why is the album called Guilt Shrine, and who did the artwork? How'd the artwork come about?
The artwork was done by an artist in New Mexico. His name's Brady Gordon. We actually just, I think Travis found him on Instagram, and then when I was looking through his portfolio, it was just like, man, this just really speaks to us. Like, there was just something about his style, and I love like his method of printmaking is really interesting, because he does what's called monotype printmaking, which is basically there's like one master original that's created on like I think it's essentially like a piece of plexiglass, and then when that is transferred onto paper, that's the only print that will ever exist of that piece of artwork. And
wow!
Like that's it. So like the ones that the artwork that's on the record, those are like there's only one print of those in existence, and it can never be recreated. And so like also just the impermanence of that method was really interesting to me, and I just thought his style is just very unique, and it just really kind of spoke to us. And then I guess to answer your other question about the title, that was like just something that popped in my brain like a lot. I always kind of walk around writing little like bits of lyrics and notes and stuff, or just ideas for song titles. Just like I'm always kind of jotting down stuff and keep little books of like lyrics and stuff like that. And that was something that's been kicking around my brain for like 10 years. And when we started working on the songs for the record, I suggested that title, and Billy and Travis really liked it. And it just kind of, I feel like it kind of informed like the lyrical content of the record too, because the whole record's really kind of about just like processing grief and trauma, and how oftentimes those feelings kind of transform into feelings of guilt or feelings of like shortcomings, feelings of failure, that kind of stuff. And I feel like that title just kind of really like summarized the theme of the record.
Real quick, what'd you say that artist's name was again?
His name's Brady Gordon, and his handle on Instagram, because that's where we had found him, is Joaquin Dead, kind of like the name like Joaquin Phoenix. But yeah, his stuff's really interesting, and loved his style. It was cool to find out that after I started talking to him, we were working on this stuff, that we actually had like a lot of mutual friends. So that was kind of a cool, like, just kind of happy accident connection thing there too.
I catch myself wanting to note that these songs seem to build on these massive feeling fucking drum riffs, but then the actual riff will kick in or the bass line or whatever. And I think what I'm getting around to is kind of like a chicken or the egg type thing, where usually I'm asking somebody if the vocals, medley, lyrics came before the riff. With you guys, I actually want to know if it's the drums or the riffs that come first.
Well, it kind of just depends. Like sometimes you guys will write to a drum idea I have, but then, you know, a lot of times it'll be from a guitar riff that you bring in. But I know, like, for instance, In the Wilderness, that one started from the drums. And maybe Lux Inversion too, right? Like maybe
I think that song started with drums. I know Elijah for sure. That started with that drum idea.
Oh, yeah.
Because I feel like we're all three always kind of drawn to that. It seems like I don't know. I'm sure you'd probably agree with that, Beach, but because I think we all three play. I mean, Travis and I play drums. I would never consider myself a drummer like Billy is, but I think we're all three kind of always doing that Beavis and Butthead thing where we're just like that rhythm is kind of like the focus. You know, it's like, oh, what if this riff was like this? You know, kind of like a better feel. You know.
Yeah. It's funny because actually Travis had the idea for the drum intro on Elijah. Like it was like a drum beat that he had always kind of wanted to use, and he kind of sat down and like kind of showed me kind of what he was talking about, and he just made it work. I was like, are you sure this is gonna work? Like this doesn't make sense. And and he started playing the bass along with that, and I was like, oh my god, okay, I see. This is super cool. He always comes up with these really cool, interesting rhythmic ideas that maybe we don't get initially, but like once it clicks, we're like, oh wow, this is super cool.
It's like once we jam it for a minute and kind of like find all those little nooks and crannies of like where the time shifts and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, I hear it now. There it is.
See, now, like using the term loosely here, as a bass player myself, I think I do kind of the same thing because I'll write something and give it to my guys, and they'll say, "What am I supposed to do with this?" And then the difference is that on my end, that's where it dies.
He was like, "Oh right,
yeah, oh no, this isn't perfect 4/4. We can't do this." You mentioned Elijah there. My exact next question after that last one is, who is Elijah? And why are you so fucking pissed at him?
So Elijah is a real person. Is a kid I grew up with that he and his younger brother were actually, when I was like a young teenager, I was in Boy Scouts for several years, and they were both in my Boy Scout troop, and the troop I was in had just a lot of like, for whatever reason, I don't know, maybe it's part of town I grew up in, but there was a lot of kids in my troop that were like from low income families or like families where just like their parents just weren't around. A lot of like really kind of like just feral children, for lack of a better word. And he was someone I grew up with that just really was like just a very damaged person, and like kind of honestly just kind of scary to be around. And so that song was kind of about him, but it's really kind of in a nutshell sort of like about just like how generational trauma affects like children and their children and their children. It's just how that stuff kind of perpetuates. But yeah, definitely was not like pissed at him or anything, but just kind of is like a fixture of my childhood that is like kind of stuck with me. Just kind of one of those people you encounter in life that kind of sticks with you because they're either kind of unusual or just, you know, just someone that's like a cautionary figure that where you're like, oh, that's what like a real like evil or like dangerous person looks like.
Yeah.
You know?
No, yeah. As you're talking through that, I know who fits that bill in my life growing up. As you explained it, it all kind of came together. So the follow up to that is, what the hell is a Lux inversion?
Well, Lux inversion is kind of like it's essentially like saying like turning a light inward. It's sort of a roundabout way of saying that, and it's sort of it really just kind of like playing into the idea of like self-introspection.
Is there a particular song that's your favorite, or you're particularly happy with the way it turned out?
This is gonna sound super cheesy and cliche, but like
I love it already.
Honestly, every song on there I'm very 100% proud of. Like, this record is the happiest I've ever been with a recording that we've done. Like the songs, the production, artwork, you know, Josh's vocal performance and lyrics are incredible. Like, just everything about it, I'm just like thrilled, you know, like I'm just so happy with. But if I had to pick the one that I'm happiest with, maybe Elijah, just because it conjures up such a mood, you know. It's a very moody, like, yeah, you know, kind of.
It fucking does. And hearing him explain what it's about is not gonna lessen that for me.
I mean, all the same sentiments. That's how I feel about it too. I would say probably my favorite song, if I had to pick one, I guess thinking about favorite song to play would probably be Elijah, just because it's just like stupid. It's just like a dumb, heavy song that's like trying to play and sing that at the same time. It's a little easier than the others, so it's more enjoyable for me. So I'd probably pick that one.
It is a
some of them are a little tough to play and sing at the same time. So, and that sometimes can take some of the joy out of trying to replicate that.
Sure,
you know,
do it live.
Me being in my own head about it.
I don't know. Is that almost like a point of pride? Something to be happy with, where this is a fucking pain in my ass. I wrote this, but I can fucking do it. I just don't get as much enjoyment out of it doing it live, maybe.
No. I think it's more of like, man, I wish I had thought about that a little differently before I committed to that. You know, but it happens.
Next up on my list here is my direct question to Travis about his bass tone. So we'll insert cricket sounds here and move on. Thanks,
maybe
Travis.
Maybe he's just so protective of his bass secrets.
He's Eddie Van Halen turning his back to do the hammer on.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh yeah.
We've noted the time in between albums a handful of fucking times here. And I think Billy even alluded to the fact that Guilt Shrine hasn't actually been being worked on for 10 years or anything crazy like that. How long have you guys been messing with this stuff?
Yeah, so I thought about that the other day, and we didn't play a show from 2016 to 2021. Like, our first show back was like the fall of 2021. So we probably started practicing for that show in the summer. So I'm just going to say, like, midway through 2021, we kind of started getting together more frequently and working on ideas. You know, like, that's what I'm going to say. I mean, some of the ideas are probably older than that, but they were not anywhere fleshed out or anything.
I think I remember because I moved to Nashville several years ago and was living up there. I guess I moved up there in like 2018, I think.
Probably.
And I remember, like, I know for sure In the Wilderness is like that old because we were working on that around that time. But like, because we were gonna play a show in 2020, like a festival that was gonna be like our first show back. After
I can guess how this one ends.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember that, but like, and then everything shut down, and then it's kind of like around then. I feel like is when we were like, well, like let's just work on a record, like let's just focus on that instead, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we were that was probably like when we really started to buckle down and really like hit it hard with like getting together more frequently with rehearsing and stuff, because the studio that we practiced at, like where Travis lives, is about an hour and a half from Billy and I. So like going to band practice every week is like a big commitment of time.
Sure.
So when I was living in Nashville, also a different time zone, so that's like almost 5 hours of driving each way for me. So it was kind of tough for us to get together as regularly back then during that time.
This is probably a good time to say that we have always been a band that writes exclusively in the room together.
Oh, really?
Like, I mean, we'll obviously bring in our ideas to show each other, but like we've never been like a file sharing type of band.
Sure.
Like, you know, we'd never ever got things going through the file sharing process for whatever reason. Like, it's just always kind of happens in a room, which is cool. But, when we live far away from the studio, it makes it super hard to have things finished in a timely manner.
You guys, for my money, are one of the best at knowing how to end a fucking album. Between fucking Misery Coil, Crawling on the Ceiling, and then Guilt Shrine here. When you write one of these fucking songs, is it, nope, that's the fucking ender right there? Or is it something that just kind of works out in my opinion, a fucking perfect circumstance?
I feel like we knew when we were writing Guilt Shrine that would be the album closer. It just felt like it would be.
Yeah.
I know that was the last song we wrote for the record, I think, right? The last one that we finished.
I think so, yeah. Because that was like one of those weird ones where it was like I was just goofing around when we were tuning up, getting ready to practice, and Travis was like, "What's that?" And I think that was the last one that we wrote. I think you're right.
So previous to that, had you guys already talked about the album being Guilt Shrine? What I want to know is, like, was the album going to be Guilt Shrine, but the song didn't actually exist?
Yeah.
Nice. Are there any touring plans for this?
Yeah, tentatively. So like recently, Travis had a broken wrist.
I saw that.
Pretty bad break. We weren't sure how long of a rehab process that was going to be, so couldn't really make a lot of solid plans, for the fall. But we do have that festival in October 26th, the Heavy Mountain Festival in Asheville.
Right.
But we had committed to that before the break and everything. So thankfully he's back to
jamming.
Somewhat, jamming. Health.
Yeah, I think he's still having a little trouble, but it seems like he's getting better.
Yeah.
The more he plays.
But I think, like, realistically, maybe at this point, it would probably be like in the new year before we could get anything solid lined up, other than long weekends here and there, possibly regionally. Outside
of all things Generation of Vipers here, I know that there's I haven't done a ton of research here, so excuse me for my ignorance, and I don't know how to pronounce this either, so this is going to go really well in case you haven't noticed already. I know that there is Okai. Is that how it's pronounced? Okai. And there's some other things kind of tangentially related to the band. Are these things that are still going? Is there anything you guys want to talk about there?
Kawhi, they're not together anymore. That was Travis's band. He played guitar in that band.
As I was fucking saying that, I'm thinking to myself, I don't actually know which one of them is in that band, and I bet you it's the dude that's not on the call.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't know, when did they call it quits? It's been a while.
Man, I don't know, 2012-ish maybe. Yeah,
probably. Mm-hmm. I am in another band called Guiltless, with my old Storm My Light bandmate Josh Graham and Dan Hawkins on guitar, and Sasha Dunable plays bass in that band. What's funny is like how Generation of Vipers is exclusively in the room jamming type band. Guiltless exclusively the other way. Like, we've actually never practiced in the same room yet. Wow. We've released an EP, self-recorded, earlier this year. I think it came out in February, and we just finished a full-length recording that's being mastered now. That will probably come out early next year. But yeah, it's interesting. We've still not played in the same room together, but we've got an EP and a full-length record. It's just so cool that that's possible now.
Modern times. What's the quick synopsis on Guiltless there?
Well, Josh had these songs written like for the EP. Like it's a 4-song EP. He had those songs kind of kicking around for a while, and he lives in Seattle. He didn't have a drummer. He was trying to find a drummer up there, like close by, and just never had any luck. And I played with him in a Storm of Light for a few years, and he always liked my my style. He kind of wrote to how I play drums, sort of. He's like, "Man, I got these songs. Do you think you could, help me out a little bit?" And I was like, "Well, I would love to, but I just feel like I don't have the time to devote to it." There again, like, music's so important to me. Like, I don't, like, if I feel like I can't give it, like, my full attention, then I would rather just not do it. He kind of persisted, and I was like, okay, let me give it a shot. And, songs were great, and I have a room here at the house that I can make noise in, so it just kind of worked. Thankfully, the file sharing thing works in this.
Sure.
In this
Josh, you got anything else that you want to bring up?
I don't have any other projects that I'm a part of at the moment, but Travis does have another band that he plays guitar and sings in, called Howl. It's spelled Haal. Really awesome. They're kind of like all the best parts of, like you were bringing up earlier, like being a kid of the '90s, like this, just like us. Like, we love, like, Failure, Hum, Soundgarden, Nirvana, like Silverchair, all that, like, classic, like, '90s alternative rock grunge stuff. Howl is kind of like in that realm. If you like stuff like that, like Shiner, Jawbox, Failure, like, just like good, heavy, like, kind of like throwback, like alternative rock kind of stuff. They've put out a few records. And he plays in that band with one of the other members that used to be in OKOI. And they're really awesome. But I would check them out for sure too.
I will look them up.
Great band. Not just
really.
Yeah, I will definitely look them up. As a matter of fact, as I was writing it, I feel like that name looks familiar. But you mentioned Nirvana there. So somewhere, I think it was between Howl and Filth and Cough and Wisdom, you guys did the 2-song EP, Divana, where you do the Devo song and a Nirvana song, which is a hell of a combination to start with, but especially when streamed through the scope of Generation of Vipers. How did that come about, and is there a possibility that something else like that happens, and what fucking weird combo would you guys come up with for it?
I mean, we kind of just did that just for fun, and I think it was also, like, right before we went to Europe for the first time, we were trying to, like, we were just trying to put that up as a sort of a way to, like, help us kind of generate a little bit more money before we left for that tour. It was mostly really just, like, something we did just for fun, because we just, we loved those bands, and, like, we'd never done any cover songs before. So it was just kind of like a fun experiment, And also, if I remember correctly, I think when we did Gates of Steel, I think we actually had Kurt mix that song.
Oh, really?
And it was sort of, at the time, an experiment, because when we did Coffin Wisdom, we recorded that record ourselves, and we had Andrew Schneider mix it. And I think, if I remember right, I think Travis was wanting to kind of use that as, like, sort of a litmus test of, like, can I pull this off on my own? Like tracking all this stuff for us here at the studio and having someone else mix it. It's been a minute since we did that, so it's hard to remember. But I think that was kind of like in a nutshell, kind of why we just sort of really did it for fun. But also to also answer your the other part of your question is that I don't know if we'll do any more cover songs or anything like that. We never really, not really anything we really ever talk about that.
It's not something that I'm going to specifically advocate for, because, again, I love you guys' original shit so fucking much, but those 2 songs are really fucking fun. Speaking of other people's songs, whether yours or somebody else's, what's your favorite riff?
Oh man,
it's like an impossible question to answer.
As far as a riff that's always in my head for some reason, and I mean, it's a great riff, don't get me wrong, but, like, probably Into the Void, Black Sabbath.
Oh, nice, yeah.
I constantly find myself humming that. Like,
that is a great riff.
Even if I haven't heard it in months, like, it's just always there for some reason.
Have you ever heard fucking Monster Magnet's cover of that?
Yeah.
That's so good. I hate the fucking 12-hour fucking build-up that they do there, but once it actually gets into it, that is so good.
Man, yeah, I don't know if I could pick a favorite one, but I feel like Alice in Chains, a lot of, like, Jerry Cantrell's riffs get stuck in my head a lot. Like, a lot of that, like, the bendy stuff that he does, like, I totally steal a lot from that. So I'd say like a lot of his riffs get stuck in my head. I don't know. It's a really tough question to answer.
I don't ask it a lot because I know it provides a lot of consternation, but I figured with you guys I'd bring it out. You mentioned Jerry Cantrell there. Some of his solo stuff I feel like gets lost in the shuffle. That solo album he put out a year or two ago was so fucking good. And of course, like I can't remember
an anomaly of in the sense that like when you look at like Alice in Chains discography, there's like a lot of variety in there.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of bands that can pull that off. Like where you could have like really gentle acoustic songs and then like just like
and
crushing
then grind.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it all works together. That's like I don't know. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, he's a really great songwriter. Who has and how do you guys divvy up the random band jobs between each other?
Not well. Actually, we've gotten a lot better about it, I think.
Not well.
Man, to be honest, we kind of play shows so infrequently. Like, yeah, when we do, it's just sort of like, yeah, you kind of fly by the seat of our pants. It's like not one person has like, okay, you do this, you do that. And we just kind of like just somehow try to just make it work. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like in the past it was kind of like when we were like touring more frequently and stuff. It was, I feel like we kind of did what most bands do, where it's like, oh, okay, well you're kind of naturally good at that, Travis. Like you're good at recording, so why don't you handle that? And you know, like I'm good at doing the artwork stuff, so I'll do that part. And like I feel like we still kind of operate that way, where it's just kind of like, oh, well you're sort of naturally good at this thing. Why don't you? We'll just kind of let you take control of that, you know. I think that's kind of seems like how most bands operate. Or almost like this unspoken thing.
Right. Kind of rounding into the home stretch here. One more actual question before we work into the silly ways that I end these things. And even this question itself is kind of silly because knowing your music, I love the idea of how do you explain what you're doing with this band to mom and dad, your kids, grandma and grandpa, whatever's the funniest fucking response here.
That's always the hardest thing. Like to coworkers or
sure,
family members. Man, I just say it's loud and heavy. Loud, heavy, rhythmic music. I don't know. I try not to get too detailed.
Yeah, you start getting more detailed and you have to explain that, no, you can't understand what the singer's saying. No, you're not going to hear it on the radio.
Yeah. What's he hollering about?
Yeah, I would probably mirror all those same things. Like I don't get real granular with it. Honestly, most of the time I try not to even bring it up. And like unless someone asks me about it, I don't really say much about it. But yeah, it's kind of the same thing. I'm just like, oh, it's really loud, super angry, there's a lot of screaming, and you'll probably not like it.
Yep. Continue not listening to it.
Play it like, it's not for everybody.
Really loud and angry. I think that might be the fucking title of my autobiography. So we'll kind of round into the home stretch here and do some rapid fire questions and take it home after that. Starting off with what I feel like should be an easy one here: coffee or tea?
Coffee, for sure.
Coffee for sure.
I talk to people all over the fucking world, and specifically in places where you think the answer is going to be tea every time. I've had one person say tea this whole fucking year. Nobody actually likes tea. It's a myth. What's something you could eat for a week straight?
Pizza.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'd say like burritos.
I fucking love me a burrito. Beatles or Stones? I feel like I should have reconfigured this to some kind of grunge thing here. So I don't know, Nirvana or Soundgarden?
Soundgarden for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Nirvana just because I feel like their discography is a little bit more consistent.
Hey, okay. Better watch.
But both equally important to me, for sure.
Let's go ahead and do the Beatles and the Stones too, just for the shit and giggles.
Beatles. I never got into the Stones for whatever reason. I mean, their hits I can, hang with them, but
sure.
As a whole, Beatles.
All right.
Yeah, same here.
Okay. Well, you guys are losing points with me on that one, but that's fine. If you had to compare your music to an animal, what would the animal be?
I don't know, a rabid dog.
Yeah, Cujo.
I was talking, one of my favorite, that's officially one of my favorite answers to this, but I was talking to Nick of Elder and Delving last week, and I've been laughing about his answer to that all fucking week. He was immediate with a Dachshund. I said, a Dachshund? He said, yeah, wiener dog. The most majestic.
Oh.
He actually said the most majestic of all the animals, and it's fucking it's hilarious. We'll stick with animals here for a second. If you could ask one animal one question, what's the animal? What's the question?
I've never been asked that before.
That's
I would ask my dog, why are you like this?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really think of one.
All right, we'll let you live on that one.
Okay.
Candy corn, yay or nay?
Probably yay. It's been probably 20 years or more since I've had one, but as a kid, I loved it.
Yeah, I would say I'll eat a piece every like 15 years and be like, I'm good for a while. I don't hate it, but it's not like something I seek out.
I bought a bag the other day thinking this will last me a while, and then like 2 hours later, I was finishing that bag. Okay.
Oh man.
So clearly, I'm a yay there. Beer or liquor?
Beer.
I don't drink anymore, but when I did, it would probably be liquor.
Not to make like a judgment call or anything, but that's probably why you don't drink anymore. I know. Yeah. I haven't drank liquor since before I was like legally allowed to fucking drink. That stuff is not for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you had, this is becoming one of my favorite things to ask here. If you had like a lame or mundane superpower, what would it be?
This is a good question because I just finished watching The Boys recently, and I've sort of actually been thinking about that. My fiance and I were talking about this like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah?
Man, I don't know. That's a great question. I have to think about that.
A lame or mundane superpower?
Just something fucking weird. Like I had the guy from Burst said that he likes to cook, and he would like to be able to like snap his fingers and all the onions are chopped, or just all the chopping and shredding shit's ready. And then the one guy said that he would like to be able to know what's going to go wrong with his car like a week in advance.
Okay. Man, probably if I could just make the laundry fold itself.
There you go. Yeah. Now you're getting the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's like something similar. Like if I could just, some way to like just get rid of any mundane tasks I don't want to do would be incredible.
That's essentially what it boils down to. It boils down to which day-to-day fucking task annoys you the most that you would love to get fucking rid of.
Yeah, that would be, if I just didn't have to sit in traffic, that would be incredible.
Oh my God. Fuck me.
However, whatever that looks like.
However that has to happen. Scale of 1 to 10. How good are you guys at keeping secrets?
1 being very loose.
1 being, don't tell this guy any fucking thing. I don't even want you to know my damn name.
Okay. I would say I'm a 9.
Yeah?
I'm going to be unrealistic.
Yeah, I would say the same.
Well, we got a couple of vaults here. That's great. Go-to karaoke song.
Let's say...
Favorite song to sing along to when you're by yourself. The one that you're just going to fucking belt out.
I'll say for me, like, for whatever reason, I find myself walking around the house singing, is it Jack and Diane by John Cougar Mellencamp? Whatever that song's actually called. The Sucking on a Chili Dog thing.
I saw a fucking meme about that this morning.
All the time. Yeah. I drive my fiance crazy with that. I don't know why that pops in my head way more than it should, but.
Sucking on a Chili Dog.
Yeah, that's an iconic line. It's hard to beat that, but shit, I don't know. Any kind of Creedence song?
Okay.
Probably.
Billy's walking around singing Fortunate Son.
Yeah, man.
Breakfast sausage. Links or patties?
I'm going to go patties on that one.
My guy.
Yeah, patties for me.
All right. This is the last thing here before we round into the thank yous. You guys, Billy, drummer of Generation of Vipers, Josh, guitar player and singer of Generation of Vipers, are sent to separate islands for the rest of your fucking life, so you can't combine on me here. You get to take one album with you. What's the album?
That's important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm going to say Super Unknown, Soundgarden.
Solid.
It's long. There's a lot of variety there, and almost all the songs are just fucking fantastic. So I'll just say that.
Yep. Not gonna argue
without
that.
giving it too much thought.
Yeah, I think my first instinct for me would be to say Smashing Pumpkins' Siamese Dream, because I feel like that's one of those records from my childhood that I still find myself putting on like frequently. Like every year I'll put it on, every couple months. Like, it's so good still. Like, I would say that's my instinctual answer probably.
I don't know if this is a confessional thing or not, but Smashing Pumpkins have never really done it for me. I know that the only songs that I do like of theirs are on that album, and maybe with that endorsement, I'll finally push play and listen to the damn thing from start to finish. I know I've tried to do Melancholy, and it's like, just no.
You know, it's funny you say that because, like, full disclosure, that's kind of where I left off with them. And we were talking about this at band practice a couple weeks ago, and I was like, Melancholy's got some good songs, but there's a lot of filler on there. And I feel like Siamese Dream to me is like one of those like perfect like guitar rock albums.
Sure.
And I think after that, I was kind of like, it's not as good as Siamese Dream, so I'm just gonna not pay attention.
Yeah, like I said, there's songs that I know I like on there, but outside of that, and I just don't like Billy Corgan. It's not like he's somebody I know personally or anything. Yeah, he just strikes me as a douchebag. Anyways, Billy, if you want to come on the show, I'll be happy to have you. Outside of that, at this point, I'd like to say thanks for the Generation of Vipers dudes for not only putting out an album that was somehow worth a 10-year wait, eat your fucking heart out, tool, but also for joining me on the show today. Needless to say, use the links related to them in the show description here and buy the fucking album, stream the album, maybe even make a sign and stand on the street corner to make sure that people know about Generation of Vipers. Just stay off my fucking street corner. I've already got that marked out. Thanks as always to the Brimming Horn dudes for sponsoring the show. Links for them in the show description as well. Speaking of links, please subscribe to the show from wherever it is that you're hearing this, as well as following the show and Generation of Vipers on all the socials. And now, without further ado, I'm going to turn it back over to, I've got Josh, Travis, and Billy here, but again, insert crickets for Travis. And I'm going to let these guys introduce the intro-outro song, which is Joyless Grails, and maybe just give a little bit of background on the song itself. And then we'll all sit quietly and enjoy the song in full.
Yeah, so this song's called Joyless Grails. Is one of the first songs we wrote for the record. And, it's just kind of about a lot of very negative feelings when, you're isolated and spending too much time by yourself, and you start to kind of believe all the negative thoughts that can build up in your mind and let those things take over, and kind of about that.
Fuck yeah. Here's Joyless Grails.